Rich Eisen. On demand.
Your show, your schedule.
I only caught the last 15 minutes of the show, so I'm going to have to go home on RichEisen.com and check out the rest.
Download podcasts at RichEisenShow.com.
Hour number 2 of the Rich Eisen Show is on the air. We're here on BRLive.com. We've also got ourselves a fun show already cooking. We had Dave Roberts, the manager of the Los Angeles Dodgers, the two-time defending NL champion. You know, I mix those metaphors every now and then.
Sure, why not? Yeah,
the two-time National League champion, back-to-back manager of the Los Angeles Dodgers, joined us with opening day right around the corner. We also have a great poll question, although I think it's a very simple answer right there. Chris Brockman, go ahead and hit it over there.
What's the best basketball movie? White Man Can't Jump, released on this date in 1992.
A Ron Shelton classic.
Indeed. Woody Harrelson, Rosie Perez.
Yes.
Hoosiers, White Man Can't Jump, Blue Chips, Space Jam, He Got Game.
You know what my answer is on this question.
I do.
I mean, we know it, Rich. It's one of your favorite movies of all time.
But so I will hold my powder on it one more segment.
Thank you, sir.
It's a very, very simple question as far as I'm concerned. But nonetheless, a quality poll question.
Yeah, we added Space Jam, so.
I got back, as you know, from vacation yesterday.
Indeed.
And we had 2 episodes of Billions on the DVR. Got through the first one because as you all know, it started a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal. It's so rare that a television show will just go from one season to the next and just maintain its greatness. And I've watched that, but I also had to watch the documentary we're talking about in hour number 3. A great, you want to call it a sports documentary? It's about the biogenesis scandal. It's called Screwball. And the director, Billy Corbin, who did a great 30 for 30 on the U, a great 30 for 30 called Broke on athletes who lose their money after they play, after they retire. And a great conversation coming up in hour number 3. Billy Corbin, the director of Screwball, the biogenesis scandal that netted A-Rod and Manny Ramirez and Ryan Braun and so forth. That's coming up. But I do want to turn to the phone line right now in a Honda Insider report brought to you by our friends at the Honda Dream Garage Spring Event, where you can get a great deal on the Honda of your dreams with available Honda sensing and loads of high-tech features. You will not want to miss out on these deals. Head into your local Honda dealer today. The former head of NFL refs, Dean Blandino, now Fox football rules analyst here on the program. How are you, Dean?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing fine. All right, let's get to this. With the new instant replay rule that allows coaches to challenge offensive and defensive pass interference, but even more importantly, challenge when they think one should have been called and one was not. What are your thoughts on this rule, Dean Blandino?
This is the most significant change that we've seen since they brought replay back in 1999, and this is really a sea change because as recently as last year, the competition committee was philosophically opposed to reviewing these types of fouls, and obviously the play that occurred in the NFC Championship game was a trigger for the conversation, and it went further than I think we all thought it would. They actually passed a rule, so this is a major deal.
And do you like it?
I think it remains to be seen. I've kind of come a long way in this area. I'm not naive to sit here and say that if we have the technology and we have a mistake like one that occurred in that game, that we shouldn't try to fix it. And I'm all for that. And no one wants games to be decided on a missed officiating call or non-call. And so, I'm all for that. I just think the way this rule was put in, again, last minute, scrambling to put language together, have we truly vetted out all of the, and it's a catchphrase, but it's true, the unintended consequences of this. And look, I'm all for the coach. If the coach thinks that it's pass interference and he has a challenge and he's willing to risk that timeout, I'm all for that because it's limited. But now you open it up inside 2 minutes and you have a replay official who now has to, in addition to knowing what a catch is and down by contact and all those things, they have to now rule on pass interference. that's going to be a challenge.
Now, let's get to that then, Dean Blandino and the Honda Insider Report, because I didn't see any specific language like egregious calls, like obviously the one in the NFC Championship game, crucial. I mean, there was no language at all. What are the parameters for, you think, the person sitting in the Art McNally Center in New York City for the last 2 minutes? What are the parameters of buzzing in on OPI, offensive pass interference, and DPI, defensive pass interference?
Yeah, so the way the language is written, it's basically letter of the law. They've just added pass interference to the list of reviewable plays. Now they're going to have to figure out what the standard is. And again, that goes back to putting something in and putting the cart before the horse. Now we got to figure out, well, what is and what isn't going to be created in replay. So the way it's now, it's letter of the law. So if that contact is early and we can see that on video, then it's a foul, and there are a lot of things to consider there. And again, inside 2 minutes, are we going to see more stoppages on these types of plays? And certainly the potential is there for that.
So there's, as far as you could tell, will there be? Do you think there will be a directive, whether it comes from the commissioner or Troy Vincent, who is in the front office in charge of these things, with your successor at the position of officiating, and Al Riveron? Do you think there's going to be a directive of don't buzz in unless it's so clear and obvious, basically adding language that wasn't put in by the competition committee and voted on by the membership?
Yeah, I think there will be. There's always, you put in a rule change and you put in language in the book, and then you figure out what are the practical guidelines, and that's not unusual. So I think there will be that directive. I know if I were in that position, I would want that to be the standard, that it has to be clear and obvious. You certainly don't want, do we want to get involved in a good defensive play, and now we're looking at whether he got his hand on the receiver's arm a split second before the ball got there, and now we're going to create a 40-yard pass interference. I don't think anybody wants that. I think it has to be clear and obvious. And I wouldn't be shocked if, again, when you put something in like this, and now you have to work through all the details, I wouldn't be shocked if there's an adjustment throughout the preseason. What we saw last year with roughing the passer, and we had to readjust in the middle of the season. So I think this is going to be a fluid process.
Yeah, and there's only 1 year for it, I guess, to figure out all of that, and then the unintended consequences, as you said, Dean. What do you think? Give me some examples of unintended consequences for this.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things, and I was just listing a couple for my own self to ask these questions. I mean, what if there's a pass interference that's called and now the ball is not catchable? Can we review that? Can the coach challenge that the ball wasn't catchable? What if it's called pass interference on the field, but the ball wasn't in the air? And so can a coach now challenge, hey, that there was a lot of contact, but it should have been illegal contact, or it should have been defensive holding because the ball wasn't in the air? Can we pick up that flag? And now, because defensive holding and illegal contact aren't reviewable, you can't put that part of it on. So there's just so many things to think through. It's not going to be as simple as, the Saints-Rams play, great, easy, pass interference, put the flag down, let's move on. But there's going to be some situations they're going to have to talk through and figure out how to handle, because it has the potential to get pretty complicated. So
let me get on a couple of these here that you just said. So in the same way that we can currently, even before this rule change that happened on Tuesday, that you could review whether a ball was tipped to waive off a pass interference penalty that's happened, right? To say, hey, the contact is legal because the ball was tipped, the way that you could have used replay for that. You're now saying that replay could be used by a wily coach that says, pick up the flag for pass interference because it was really holding a illegal contact. Let's review to see whether the ball had left the quarterback's hand yet. You think that's something that's coming down the pike?
Yeah, I think it is, because, again, the way the language is written, it's letter of the law. Pass interference is reviewable. Well, to have pass interference, the ball has to be in the air. The contact has to occur more than a yard downfield. It has to be a catchable football. So to me, right now, all of those things would now be reviewable.
Now, the inner Richard Sherman in me wants to talk about the offensive pass interference here.
Yeah.
How do you think this affects that? Because we're all talking about the Saints play and the fact that there's defensive pass interference that could be called on every pass play, and wait till we see the last 2 minutes. What about offensive pass interference with this rule, Dean? How's that going to work?
In my time at the NFL, there were a couple of fouls that were really difficult to officiate. Offensive pass interference was one of them, and quite frankly, it hasn't been consistently officiated for years, even during my time at the NFL. It's a difficult play to officiate, and that is going to be another. I think it's even going to be a bigger challenge than DPI, because now you're getting involved in, did the defender have position? Is the receiver initiating that contact? Is he blocking downfield, or is he trying to run a route? Is the defender trying to jam him? Did the contact occur before the ball was touched? Did the contact occur more than a yard downfield? Is it just hand fighting? All of these things that the official has to make that call in real time. Now it's subject to review, and, we could throw up 10 offensive pass interference calls and not get a consensus on any of them. So it's going to be a big challenge.
And what about a time frame? I mean, is it still in the last? Again, that's the point of this, in the last 2 minutes, because the OPI stuff and the DPI stuff, it still is in the same universe number of challenges that's available to a coach. We're talking about the last 2 minutes. How long? Obviously, that hasn't been changed at all, but usually we're not holding people's feet to the fire that if we don't get a certain response by a certain time, we're moving on. What's the scoop on that, Dean?
Well, nothing has changed. Nothing's changed regarding the rule in terms of 60 seconds to review the play. The replay official, there's no limit to the number of plays they can stop inside 2 minutes. So that's something they have to consider when you think about the standard. I don't think they want a whole bunch of stoppages inside 2 minutes. But nothing else about the rule has changed. So once the game is stopped, there's the time limit, the 60-second review, and then they have to make a decision. And again, it's going to, New York is going to get involved. You have a replay official that's going to have to, be responsible for stopping the game and initiating that review. Think about this. Think about a scoring play outside 2 minutes, right? And the replay official has to confirm that. Now we have a touchdown. And the replay official says, yeah, it's a touchdown, but wait a minute, that receiver pushed off. That now becomes reviewable because that's under their parameters. And now we're going to say, okay, we're confirming the touchdown, but guess what? It was pass interference. Let's take it back and penalize the offense 10 yards. The potential for that is there as well.
All right, a few more minutes left with Dean Blandino, former head of NFL refs, now current Fox Sports Rules analyst here in the Honda Insider Report. What about the automatic replay reviews being expanded to include scoring plays and turnovers negated by a foul? Why was that thrown into this mix? Best you can tell as well, Dean.
Yeah, that was it's an unusual situation. That's where you have a scoring play. Scoring plays are automatically reviewed, but I think a team submitted that to say, well, it was a scoring play. It was negated by a foul. Why should we have to waste a challenge? That should be automatically reviewed. So I think that was the theory behind that one. But I don't believe that passed, so I don't think that's going to be an issue going forward.
It says right here, the effect also expands automated replay reviews to include scoring plays and turnovers negated by fouls. But we'll check on all of that.
Yeah, let's check on that. I wasn't sure. Yeah, I know they changed the tries as well, so now all tries will be reviewed.
Yeah, exactly.
Automatically, whether they're good or not.
All right. So what can you tell me of what you heard in the room? That Belichick and Reed took the floor and wanted to hammer out more of the language. I mean, all the coaches are seemingly in favor of this sort of thing now. Dean, what did you hear about what's going on in the room?
The coaches got together and were pretty united on this, which that's good. That's something. Obviously, the coaches have a strong voice, and they should be a part of the rules change process. And I'm not sure they've had their say in the past, or at least the way it's worked out. The competition committee goes through their routine, and then we would present to the coaches on the eve of the league meeting, and it really didn't give them a lot of time to digest what was potentially going to get voted on. So I think that's good that the coaches got together and hammered it out. I just know that as recently as Monday, the competition committee was not unanimous on this proposal. I think the competition committee was split as recently as Monday, but something changed, from Monday to Tuesday. And because the vote, I believe, was 31-1 with only Cincinnati and Mike Brown holding strong on his opposition to replay and expanding replay, being the lone dissenter. So again, it was the coach. I know the commissioner was pushing for this, and here we are.
What are the refs thinking today?
I can tell you what. I know there's 17 replay officials out there that are looking at the rule book and trying to learn pass interference now because it's not something that they had to consider. I think the officials are pretty good as it comes to replay. It doesn't change what they do. They're going to go out, and I think that's the real key. Replay is not a fix to a problem. If you think there's a problem on the field, you got to teach, you got to train, you got to give good direction. So I think the officials on the field, this doesn't change much for them. They're gonna go out and officiate the games. I think this adds to the replay officials' plate, and they're gonna have to now bone up on pass interference and know what it is and what it isn't, and be a part of that.
How does that work?
Be a part of those conversations. The teaching tapes will go out, and now when normally pass interference tapes would go out to the downfield officials and people that were responsible for that, now replay is going to get involved, and they're going to have to look at not just what is and what isn't, but what is the standard. Here's an example of a call that wasn't made and should be added in replay. Here's an example of a call that was made that should be taken off in replay, and I think that has to be the approach, and just have to continue to teach it so that they're as up to speed as possible when the season starts.
Can I make a suggestion on this, Dean?
Yeah,
because I always do that. You know that, Dean. I don't just sit here and
analyze. You again, the Tuck rule. You were the one. You were the one that you kept on it. You kept pushing, and eventually we got it done.
And now look at the league, right? Look at the league, making billions.
Better off for it.
Making billions. Making billions. Everybody's making billions. Well, not everybody, but all right. So here's my suggestion. There's 17 replay officials that have to now do this, right? As you mentioned, 17 replay officials, right?
Yep.
You get them all in a room, you do the cut up, and you show it to somebody. They don't know that they're going to be the one to have to analyze. They have 1 minute to analyze, is this pass interference or not? And you say, replay official 3, go. And show them the play, and they've got 60 seconds. And simulate it. Because that's the issue. They don't know that they're going to have to do it. Until they have to do it, and they got to do it in 60 seconds. Go. Is that the way it works?
Yeah. No, I mean, they'll have clinics, and they'll get them all together in a room, and they'll go through plays, and they'll go through those types of exercises.
But in 60 seconds,
show a play.
Yeah,
and exactly. You have to put them on the clock because again, you have to stop the game. Now you have 60 seconds to make that decision. Now, once the game is stopped, New York will get involved in that discussion as well. You have the referee that can look at it. New York will be involved. So I think where the replay official is really going to be critical is just initiating the review and being aware that there's an issue, whether the call was made and it shouldn't have been, or there should be a call made that wasn't. So I think that's where they're really going to be a key part of this process.
Dean, thanks for the call. Appreciate it. Let's get you here in studio in Los Angeles. I got a million more questions, but this covers it for the moment. Thanks, brother. Appreciate it.
All right, Rich.
You got it. That's Dean Blandino, Fox Sports. They're going to have a decision to make. How about that? Hey, I challenge the play. You call pass interference on my guy. Ball wasn't in the air yet. That should be defensive hold. Pick up that flag, and we know you can't throw it for defensive hold. How about that?
And when Bill Belichick does it, everyone's going to freak out.
Well, because he'll have known the play was happening before it happened, right?
Well, he just knows the rule book better.
No, but in all honesty, that's the sort of stuff.
Yeah, that's coming.
But you've got to make that decision fast.
Quick.
Go. You got 30 seconds. Go.
Yep.
And
Maybe
if you get it wrong, you lose your challenge. And if you've already lost your challenge, that means you have none for the rest of the game.
Keeping the two challenges was really key.
So much to figure out. 844-204-RICH, number to dial. The Chris Brockman news update and so much more still to come here on the show. We'll take your calls when we return.
Hey, it's Shaq, and now that the NBA All-Star Weekend is over, it's time for the second half of the season to get underway. It's a tight battle in both the Western and Eastern Conferences as teams are vying for playoff position. And I've been saying for months, there's only one place to get in on all the action. BetOnline.ag. Sign up today for a free account and use the promo code PODCAST1. And when you make your first deposit, you'll receive a 50% bonus. That's promo code PODCAST1. NBA excitement is heating up. Don't miss out on all the fun. BetOnline.ag, your online sportsbook experts.
Okay, this is a 30-second commercial, and I'm going to throw a lot of numbers at you. But please stay with me. In just 15 minutes, you could save 15% or more on car insurance. This company's been offering great rates and great service for over 75 years, and anytime you need help, you can speak to one of their trained specialists 24/7. The company is Geico. Go to geico.com today. Sorry for all the numbers. And in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, I'm out of time. All right. The poll question brought to you by TrueCar. Car shopping can be confusing with terms like dealer price, list price, and invoice. TrueCar shows you whether people paid for the car you want so you can recognize a good price. When you're ready to buy a new or used car, visit TrueCar to enjoy a more confident car buying experience. Christopher, what do you have over there? Poll
All right.
question.
On the anniversary of White Man Can't Jump's release, what's the best basketball movie right now? Hoosiers leads the way, 55%. White Man Can't Jump, 19%. Space Jam, 11%. He Got Game, 9%. Blue Chips, 6%.
Okay, now, Blue Chips and Space Jam and also He Got Game, Blue Chips, Space Jam, He Got Game, all have actual NBA players in the film, acting.
True.
Jordan playing himself. We all know Ray Allen playing somebody else, Jesus Shuttlesworth. We also know Blue Chips, Penny Hardaway and Shaq were in that as Nick Nolte's recruits.
Great movie.
And Blue Chips taking you behind the scenes, right?
To kind of what's going on now in college
Nothing
basketball?
really puts you behind the scenes quite like He Got Game, a Spike Lee joint of the first variety. Okay? Of the first variety. And Space Jam taking you behind the scenes of
Intergalactic Warfare.
Involving Bugs Bunny.
Yeah.
Then there's He Got Game, which is one of Ron Shelton's finest works.
White Man Can't Jump.
I'm about to say, White Man Can't Jump.
Yeah.
Ron Shelton's finest works. Wesley Snipes, Woody Harrelson.
Takes place down here in Venice.
If I'm not mistaken, if I can go through the Woody Harrelson career, was that his first non-Cheers big role?
Stand by.
Okay.
It might be.
Well, while he was on Cheers as well? It was kind of like
Towards the end.
1992.
You know, like this is kind of
yeah. That was the end of Cheers.
Okay.
Cheers ended in '93.
Yeah. And what movies was he in before all that? Right? He Oliver Stoned after that. Right?
He had very quick appearances.
So this was big for Woody
This
Harrelson.
was big.
Okay,
because he did this and then got Indecent Proposal.
Okay,
then Cheers went off the air, and
off
then
we go.
Off we went.
Off we go.
Yeah.
So these are big, and in terms of gritty pickup basketball.
Yeah, Wesley Snipes.
Correct. And even in terms of what makes a great sports movie is father-son stuff, which He Got Game had.
He Got Game for sure.
With Denzel Washington, for crying out loud. I'm talking everything else up because everything else is so secondary. And you know how much I love baseball?
Yeah.
And you know what football means to me and my family and the roof that goes over my head. The house, the home where my children come and play with their toys.
Here we go.
That's football.
But
Hoosiers isn't just the best basketball movie. Hoosiers is the best sports movie. Period. End of story. Rip the knob off. You want to talk about sports movies, what makes it great? Father-son stuff. Dennis Hopper playing the father, obviously. The father figure being Gene Hackman's Coach Dale, who's trying to get some sort of redemption for clearly a flagrant violation of the coach-player relationship. You want to talk about David beating Goliath? comeback stories, underdogs, upsets. Nothing beats Hoosiers.
Here's what we're going to do. Jimmy, they're going to be expecting you to take the last shot. We're going to use you as a decoy.
Jimmy won't be used as a decoy.
I'll make it.
On the picket fence. He's going to take the last shot. All right, let's go.
Hold on a minute. They're not doing that.
What's the matter with you guys? What's the matter with you?
I'll make it.
I'll make it.
Okay. And then he draws up another play. I mean, the number...
Spoiler alert, he makes it.
Hold on a second. The picket fence. All right. So many... I mean, I'm getting goosebumps. And the thing that shows you how much I love this movie is it's by the same people that made Rudy, which I cannot stand. Stop it. All right? Get it off. Get it off.
You're on fire.
Get it off. Get it off. Get it off.
The greatest sports movie of all time, Rudy.
It's not Rudy. I'm sorry. It's not Rudy. It's not Rudy. It is not. Rudy's is as fictional as Alien. Okay? Right?
I mean, Rudy was a real person.
What's more real?
He was a person.
What's more real?
He had a sack.
Excuse me. What's more real?
Alien.
The entire team carried Rudy off the field that day, or a being hopping out of somebody's chest in the middle of space.
The entire team.
The alien's more realistic.
You're just taking Joe Montana's word for it.
Oh, gosh. And look at Kurt Warner. Did you see he chimed in on our poll question?
So did Russell Richard
Hoosiers,
Sherman.
duh. Everything else is for second. Mile and High. The famed Mile and High story. That's Hickory. All right? And the number of times... who else chimed in on our poll question?
Richard Sherman.
Bless Richard Sherman. Glory Road followed closely by Blue Chips.
Glory Road, the story of Texas Western.
Sure.
Beating Kentucky.
Okay. Kentucky and Pat Riley on that team for Adolph Rupp. Okay. Appreciate Richard Sherman chiming in. You know, and the number of times... I'm not done yet. I'm on a roll. Then we'll take your calls. The number of times I quote Hoosiers on a weekly basis. When somebody in your life is concerned about a big job interview, a big moment, a big step up professionally, a big step up even personally, something in your life, I always tell them about measure the rim to the floor, measure the free throw line to the baseline. It's either your small gym or the Butler Fieldhouse. Same game. Come on. The number of times something from Hoosiers can be brought to bear in real life. End of story. And Gene Hackman and Dennis Hopper. Okay? If I'm not mistaken, is that like that could be Dennis Hopper's last look at his filmography.
Well, Speed.
Was that before or after Speed? Speed, come on.
There's a bomb on a bus. Pop quiz, hot shot.
I understand, but he played
epic.
Come on.
Speed's pretty epic.
It's epic.
Speed, mentioning Speed for Dennis Hopper is like
well, I understand, but you said his last
Hold on a
biggest
second.
movie.
Okay, got it. All right, understand. But you saying, when I say Dennis Hopper, you say Speed.
Yes.
Is like me saying Jeremy Irons and you saying
Die Hard 3.
Okay. All right, hey, playing some sort of psychopath.
Seth Meyers. Seth Meyers agreed with me.
Take that for data.
Seth Meyers.
Speaking of which, I'm on Seth next Wednesday. I don't know who the other person is, but the reason last time I was on Seth Meyers, we were in New York. I'm like, Jeremy Irons is on as well, and you're like, oh, Die Hard 3, and I'm like, come on. There's so many different films that you could mention for him. I'm in the green room as the second guest, ready to see Jeremy comes out, and he mentions in the introduction, you know him from such great films as Die Hard 3. And I'm like, oh, no. I got to tell Brockman this tomorrow.
Seth Meyers gets it.
Al in Dallas, one of our best and brightest out there in the Rich Eisen Show listenership and viewership from day one. Welcome to brlive.com, Al.
Salute, paisan.
Thank you,
Were
brother.
you in Italy, Richard? I didn't know this. And by the way, when you went to that taping, I actually saw you guys in New York City.
That's right. You brought your boy there, right?
No. This was a solo
trip. That's City. Right. Okay.
It's a solo. By the way, you noticed that Gallinari, that Doc Rivers handed Gallinari the champagne, right?
That's right. Yeah, man. That's right. We just showed that celebration in the TV segment.
He's next.
What's on your mind?
So a couple things. Number one, who showed more commitment this week? The New York Mets signing Jacob deGrom or the Brockmans buying the sleep number bet?
Well, they're not buying the sleep number bed. So
buying
I'll go to the Mets.
is a loose term there.
I'll go to the Mets, Al. I'll say the Mets ponying up for your boy DeGrom. By the way, after Syndergaard called
a commitment. Any way you get it, you know what I mean.
Well, at least they didn't have to have Syndergaard call him out before it, man. But it got done. It's great. It's great for Mets fans that they actually found the money underneath the cushion. I don't know if they had to borrow it or whatever, but they got it done. So it's good news.
$57 million of that is deferred, which is interesting.
So he's got the Bobby Bonilla deal, huh? So you're saying
you don't get accrued interest. You don't get any interest on that. And they don't have Madoff around, so I don't know how. Listen, I think it's a solid move by deGrom because he's saying to the Mets, I want you guys to have a future, and that's part of what baseball is going to have to become. You're going to have to think long term if you want them to sign Syndergaard, if you want them to sign Conforto, who's going to be the next New York superstar. But that's not the reason why I called Richard. The replay thing. It's about two things. Number one, it's not about the Sunday 1 and 4 o'clock games because they have a set schedule that they know kickoffs at 1 o'clock and the next round of games is at 4, and it's going to be around that time. The length of these games that go on Sundays and Mondays are ridiculous. They get into all wee hours of the night. You guys don't have it that bad because you're on the West Coast. But these games take way too long, and you don't want the end of these games to get all jammed up with what you're talking about. But the other thing is what I don't understand, and I was asking Brockman this earlier. If pass interference only occurs when the ball is thrown at that wide receiver?
Yes.
Okay, so what if I tackle a guy on the other end of the field? Is that holding?
No, it's just something that'll get called, but it's...
What's it going to get called? Pass interference?
But if you're tackling some guy on the other side of the field and the ball's going away, it doesn't matter, though.
Okay. All right.
You know what I mean? Like if ball's in the air, if you tackle somebody and the ball's incomplete and there's no flag for pass interference on the other side, you might get called for illegal contact.
But is that reviewable?
I don't think but they'll call it. And so I don't think that's the unintended consequence, though. And I understand what you're saying about times of games, but it's gonna be the last 2 minutes. And the question is how often are they gonna buzz in? Al, and thanks for the call, man. We'll see you soon. It's how many times are they going to buzz in? And I think what Dean said at the top of the hour is right. It's going to be pretty. It's going to freak people out in the preseason, just like the helmet rule did this year. And then the helmet rule, as you know, disappeared. Poof. And the roughing the passer penalty is what came to rear its ugly head in the first couple of weeks, as Packers fans can attest to, with their tie. But it all went down to tubes anyway after that win over the Vikings turned into a tie.
Popped up in the playoffs with the Chiefs.
But, all that said together, I think they'll figure it out. Let me ask you this question, then we'll take our break. What do you think is more possible?
Okay.
That it's a rough, bumpy ride, but they figure it out in the end and it stays. They vote at next year's owners' meeting to keep it. Or it's dreadful, and at next year's owners' meeting, it's gone. And we go back to the original.
I think the former, because, look, we're talking about one single play that everyone got bent out of shape about, and which kind of led to this change. And what are the chances of that happening again?
Well, it can happen again. It won't because of this rule.
That's what I mean. It won't. But what are the chances of it happening again, even if we didn't have the change?
Correct.
Small. Or minuscule.
So it'll be kept.
I imagine, we'll iron it out. It might happen a couple of times in the preseason, and then we won't see much of it again.
Well, I'm seeing a lot of tweets from our Canadian friends saying, hey, we in the CFL have been reviewing this stuff, and it's not a problem. So, 844-204-RICH, number to dial. Billy Corbin, whose documentary on the biogenesis scandal that caused Alex Rodriguez to sit out a year. It is an amazing documentary, and it's hilarious, even though the subject matter is very sad. And we'll explain why on all of that front. And take more of your phone calls at 844-204-RICH as we roll on here on this busy Wednesday edition of the Rich Eisen Show. Hey, listeners, just wanted to take a minute to thank all of my great sponsors and all of you great listeners for supporting this podcast. Certainly couldn't do this show without either of you, and I wanted to remind you that you can support my sponsors by going to my show page at podcast1.com, clicking on the Support This Podcast button, and there you'll see all of my wonderful sponsors that help make this show possible. So thank you for downloading, subscribing, and, of course, supporting. Now, back to the show.
Podcast One's coverage of March Madness runs on Diesel.
All right, it's March, which means it's time for the madness. So you know we got it all covered on the big podcast with me, Shaq. The legendary, get him out the game, baby, Dick Vitale. How you doing, Coach?
Hey, Shaq, what's going on, man?
And we're way more than just sports, Shaquille. So be prepared to laugh as we bring you the best basketball coverage.
The big podcast with Shaq. Check us out with new episodes every Monday at podcast1.com.
Stay tuned for 60 seconds of AP News headlines right after this podcast.
March Madness is still here. Did your bracket bust? Don't worry, go to BetDSI.com where you can watch all the madness and even bet all the games until the final whistle. BetDSI has the fastest payout in the industry. Simply play, win, and get paid. Try live betting at BetDSI where you could bet on the games from start to finish. That's every play and every minute down to the last whistle. So what are you waiting for? Go to BetDSI.com and use promo code DRMadness. New members get a 100% bonus match. So are you ready for some extra cash this March? Remember, it's only a game until you bet it at BetDSI.
When's the last time you saw Space Jam, by the way?
A couple years, probably.
It's been recent for me now having kids.
Yeah. Yep.
And my favorite part of Space Jam, when you see it again, is to see who the NBA stars of the day were.
Right.
Sean Bradley.
Muggsy Bogues.
Ced Ceballos.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Del Harris was in... Coach Del Harris was in Space Jam.
Well, let me see who else.
You know, I mean, it's just seeing all the NBA stars of the day.
Patrick Ewing, Larry Johnson.
Larry Johnson in a Charlotte Hornets uniform, I'm
Yeah.
sure.
And then Larry Bird and Charles Barkley.
Bill Murray.
Great movie.
Wayne Knight, right?
Great movie.
Newman.
$250 million worldwide.
So LeBron is doing it, right? Is he doing it?
He
is
is.
it done, right?
Yeah.
They're doing it.
They're doing
it's
it.
It's happening. They're going to do it.
It's happening.
So who gets to be? So who? Chris Paul's in it, right? We'll get Kyrie in it. I mean, all of LeBron's guys will get in it, right? Will he use the Space Jam casting? Will they all be free agents like his all-star roster? Will he look at their contracts?
You started the super team, bro.
By the way, you're on fire. You just Del Tufo. I don't know what'd you have for dinner last night.
You know my joke about the blind squirrel finding a nut?
Well,
Today I found a nut.
you're-
I opened it. I'm eating it.
Because you
Did you get enough sleep last night?
I've been well rested.
Now, we just had a segment, our television-only segment. We saw these crossovers last night. Chris Paul breaking ankles and Lance Stevenson stepping on somebody's foot.
Jeff Green.
Right, Jeff Green's foot. And you said that was the highlight of the Lakers
Highlight of
season.
the Lakers
but I'm
season.
like, you know, I
Most
try to
fun they've had all year.
No, but the highlight of the Lakers season, the high water mark of the Lakers season was the 5-second point before LeBron's groin gave way
Yeah, let me
on
see if I can
Christmas
find that
Day.
exact date.
Well, the date is Christmas Day.
No, I mean the moment of the game.
In Golden State, when they were destroying the Warriors on national television on Christmas Day, and they were several games over 500, right? They were in the top 4 of the Western Conference. And then LeBron's groin gave way, and then the rest of it went downhill. LeBron didn't play for a month, and then while he was out was when that whole Anthony Davis thing began, and then Lonzo went out. And Lonzo's now, as the big baller brand's done.
I mean,
he's covered
Basically
the tattoo.
Yeah,
and the
he
shoes
got
off.
the tattoo covered up yesterday. severed ties with one of the co-founders who probably stole $1.5 million.
Where's LeVar?
Haven't heard from him. He's been silent
on all of this, right? And I saw
LeBron gave him props for
Lonzo did good. How?
I saw an article on this that the Lakers told him that the shoes are part of the reason why he's not healthy all the time. See that? That's the rumor that I heard.
So that's the rumor. Bad?
My goodness.
No. Listen, man.
I
will share with the Rich Eisen show audience, and I know this doesn't fit with a lot of the BR Live demographic, but why I wear inserts. And when I started wearing inserts, my back problems went totally, like my knees. I feel like without the inserts, I would never have had my groin explode on me and barely crack 6 seconds in my 40-yard dash.
Is this the most scrutinized year for shoes ever?
I mean, gosh, yeah.
Between Zion
and the Big Bowler brand.
So on December 25th, the Lakers were 20-14. They were the 4th seed.
That's it.
They were the 4th seed in the West.
And that's the high water part of the Lakers season because it's all been absolutely way downhill. They're 33-41. Hey, man, kudos to C-Web, who came on before the season saying he and Charles were like, this is not a playoff team.
Yeah, they nailed it.
And that all the travel that he did not have in Cleveland because the trips to Washington, D.C. and New York and Philadelphia and Boston and Detroit and Indiana, those quick shuttle trips, Toronto, those are all gone when you're out west. A hell of a lot more travel and a lot more deep teams.
LeBron got hurt at 7:51 in the third quarter.
So with 7:52 to go in the third quarter of Christmas Day, high water mark for the Los Angeles Lakers season. All right, there's a LeVar statement on all of this. I did not know that. Let's check that out. Don Bowie, our coordinator.
I've always believed in the best people. Regretfully, I put my complete trust in Alan Foster to manage my son's business affairs.
This is 4 days ago.
At the end of the day, family comes first, and I support Zoe wholeheartedly. Together, we'll make this right.
Okay, there you go. There you go. So the shoes aren't going to be working. The brand's not working. It's not happening.
It's over. Tattooed over it. Put a couple of dice on his arm.
Is that what he did?
Yeah.
Is it snake eyes? What does it roll up? Sevens?
The dice are weird looking.
Oh,
the dice are weird looking.
Is it a yo?
Honest.
Is it at least yo for come out?
No.
All right.
We'll show it next hour.
Okay. Great tease. Hey.
You got it.
Again, our poll question is brought to you by TrueCar. Terms like dealer price, list price, and invoice. TrueCar shows you what other people paid for the car you want so you can recognize a good price. When you're ready to buy new or used, visit TrueCar to enjoy a more confident car buying experience. Where are we at the end of hour number 2 here, Chris?
Well, Rich, you putting your thumb on the...
It went up, huh?
No, it went down. Hoosiers 46% now. White Man Can't Jump 21%. He Got Game 15%. That got a little boost. Space Jam 11%. Blue Chips, Richard Sherman did not influence it. Still at 6%.
I have been informed in my eargate that the American Film Institute, while ranking Hoosiers the best basketball movie, has not ranked it the best sports movie, and I want names.
What is
when we come back? Hold on a minute. When we come back, I need to know this top 3.
Well, it's tremendous. I will say that.
Okay, but sports movies. They are sports movies, or they're movies about sports. Those are two different things. Okay. And your news update, and Billy Corbin, the director of this great, phenomenal documentary called Screwball on the Biogenesis Scandal. That's coming up hour 3.
March Madness is upon us, and Dan Patrick has you covered.
I probably wouldn't do the hat because I don't want to mess up the hair.
Join Dan and the Danettes as they keep up with every twist and turn in the NCAA tournament on the Dan Patrick Show. Every day, hear the hottest takes and the biggest celebrity interviews from the world of sports and entertainment.
It's as cocky and confident as Baker Mayfield is.
Don't miss the madness on the Dan Patrick Show, right here on Podcast One.
March Madness is still here. Did your bracket bust? Don't worry, go to BetDSI.com where you can watch all the madness and even bet all the games until the final whistle. BetDSI has the fastest payout in the industry. Simply play, win, and get paid. Try live betting at BetDSI, where you could bet on the games from start to finish. That's every play and every minute down to the last whistle. So what are you waiting for? Go to BetDSI.com and use promo code DRMadness. New members get a 100% bonus match. So are you ready for some extra cash this March? Remember, it's only a game until you bet it at BetDSI.
I'm Rita Foley with an AP News Minute. President Trump is telling Fox News Channel Sean Hannity the now completed Russia investigation was a cloud.
It was a cloud. It was a cloud that most people didn't believe, fortunately.
The investigation found no evidence the Trump campaign conspired with Russia to influence the election. President Trump calls the investigation an attempted takeover.
If we had done this to President Obama, you'd have 100 people in jail right now, and it would be treason.
House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jerry Nadler says the Attorney General has told him the yet-to-be-released Mueller report is fewer than 1,000 pages long. WOW Air, which flies from airports in the U.S. and Europe, has abruptly gone out of business, stranding passengers on 2 continents. A single ticket sold in a Milwaukee suburb matched all 6 numbers in the Powerball drawing, $768 million. And Wayne Messam, the mayor of Miramar, Florida, is joining the crowded race for the Democratic presidential nomination. I'm Rita Foley.